Welcome to this Sports Showcase event on Harford TV. I'm Don Morrison. We're at Aberdeen High School on a beautiful, gorgeous day in the afternoon. We're going to be watching the visiting North Harford Hawks against the homestanding Aberdeen Eagles in a boys soccer game. My pal Bob Frisch. Bob, this game, let's call it like it is. We have two young teams, two teams that have had success last year and previous years. This year, not so much.
Yeah, they have fallen victim to the senior class graduation. So really what we see is a lot of underclassmen and younger players on these teams, and they're rebuilding these years, which actually holds well and a good opportunity for them to be able to develop skills this year that will help them very much in the next years.
And we're talking to Kevin Williams, the coach for Aberdeen. His JV team has one loss, including the win today, so one loss all year. A lot of players who could be playing varsity this year. He's decided to keep them down on JV for a full year of experience rather than bring them up to a varsity that, in truth, they're 0-8. Bringing them up is really not going to make a big difference. I think it's a wise thing, an unselfish thing, and a thing that's really the interest of the kids developing and not being stunted their growth up on varsity where they may not be ready.
Well, that's the problem when you bring really young players up, is that they don't usually get enough playing time.
Yeah.
It's sort of like with baseball, right? You see players, they decide that are doing well, but they want to leave them down in the minor league so they get to play every day instead of just being periodically and sporadically when they're up here at the varsity level.
Well, Eric Lane now in his third year of coaching in North Harford, he's got a 20-10 record over those 3 years. Listen to this, Bob. Last year they were 9-7. They lost in the state semifinals to Damascus. The year before, in 2022, they were in the state finals. They lost to Glen Elk. So you come into the year off two championship seasons, and this year you have a young team. They are 3-6, but they've been in every game. They've not been blown out. They're a team that can do well, and a team that's looking perhaps to the second season, the playoffs.
That's it. It's as you know, any sport when the postseason starts, it's a whole new season. It's all over. Anything can happen.
Matthew Diley is their junior forward, their striker. This young man who is just a great player. He's been out almost the entire year on a concussion. Had a couple of goals early. He got a concussed. He's been out. Came back last game against Falston, scored both of the goals they scored, and their 3-2 loss. So, having him back in the lineup is going to make a big difference for North Harford. You look at their starting lineup, and we'll be hearing the announcer give the starting lineups in just a moment. We'll give them to you now. Matthew Diley, number 19, will be the striker. K.L. Sims is number 7. Cole Schultz, number 10. Jack Warden, 11. Ryder Taylor, number 22. Sebastian McNally, number 25. They are the forwards in midfield, along with Jamal Holmes, number 2. Kenny McMahon, number 3. In the defense, Cooper Odell, number 6. Nathan Bungart, number 13. And in the goal, Ian Lewis, number 32. Bob, when you look at a goalie, here's a young man who's a senior, 70 saves on the year. We talk about a rebuilding year, but when you're a senior, this is your year. You can't wait for next year, so he's done very good. Talking to their coach, Eric Lane, Eric said of all the goals that have been scored against him this year, only one could be considered his fault.
Well, he's a senior, and he's been with the team for a while, and so the defense is relying on him in many ways. Is the defender of last resort. And so he's the quarterback back there.
Yep.
So you can say that only one, maybe his mistake, his error that would allow the goal to go in. But he's got a young and inexperienced group in front of him. So he's at that point he's becoming a teacher, a mentor.
You're seeing now the North Harford team dressed in their white with green numerals being introduced, and you're seeing the goalie coming on the field, Ian Lewis, number 32, that senior we're talking about. Aberdeen being introduced, and we'll give you their starting lineup as well. Ian Battle, number 18, Ayman Anwar Jr., number 11, sophomore, and Stephen Giddings, number 13, also a sophomore, on the front line. In the midfield, it's Toby Dassault, number 14, a sophomore. Getting a feeling here, we're talking about sophomores. Caleb Holmes is number 19. Kean O'Hara, number 9. Holmes is a senior, O'Hara a junior. Evan Harris, number 32, a sophomore. On the back field, it's Freddie Hinder, number 15, a senior. David Mundrick, number 10, a sophomore. And Sean Elam, a sophomore, number 9. the goalie. And again, if you've got a figure that you're looking to, a senior in the goal, Jack Morrill, I'm sorry. And Jack has made a big difference for this team, Aberdeen, keeping them in the games. They've had some close games this year, even though, Bob, as we said, they're 0-8. Well, let me ask you this question. You and I have both coached and played on really good teams and not so good teams. How do you keep your spirit up if your team is 0-8 and you know you're not going anywhere? How do you keep your spirit up? It's easy when you're, and let me hold that answer. We're about to honor our country with our national anthem. We'll come back for Bob's answer in just a moment. And now, Bob, I know the answer that folks have been just holding their breath, and they're probably passed out by now, waiting for the answer. How do you keep your spirit up when your team is not doing well, won and lost on the field?
Well, if you're one of the upperclassmen, that's part of your development as a leader. You just have to step back and say, you can't control, when people graduate. You can't control what skill level your partners on the field are. But you have, as a leader, you need to step up and explain. And even though you're not necessarily going to have a great year, the idea is, for the pride of your school and the pride of your team, is that you help these players develop so that the next year and the year after that, that they would be able to take something from your mentorship and help them become the better teams in the years in the future.
If you're, on the other hand, you're the coach of North Harford, Gary Lane, here's a team that has not won you're playing. You're 3-6. You have a chance to advance your record toward the playoffs. How do you keep your team from not looking beyond a competitive team like Aberdeen, who's looking for that first win of the year?
Well, I think the fact is that they have, had a few setbacks themselves, and they know that anybody can come in at any day. They use that phrase, on any given day. And it's true in all sports. We've seen it. I mean, we just saw that great football game. Number one, Alabama gets knocked off by a team that just nobody expects to have, for them to even be competitive in that game. And we see it all across all sports. So, that's part of the motivation for a coach, is how can he keep his team motivated and not looking ahead. Say, just because this team doesn't have any wins doesn't mean that you can't be their first victory.
40-minute halves, and we're underway. That's Aberdeen going from right to left, and North Harford from left to right. North Harford in the white away visiting uniforms, Aberdeen in that royal blue uniform. I guess that's royal blue, huh? Yeah. And the gold trim. Good defensive play by North Harford to keep the ball out of their territory. Number 13, Nathan Bunhart. Number 13 was the young man who made that defensive play. Sun is sort of shining, Bob, in our eyes, but we're not going to complain at all. It's just a beautiful, beautiful day. What temperatures in maybe the low 70s, the high 60s. Not a cloud in the sky, maybe a couple of clouds.
Great soccer weather.
Soccer weather. You being a soccer player and a soccer official, what is good soccer weather? Not too much wind?
I I don't have any problem with any weather.
Really?
It's like, golfers, it never rains on the golf course.
Yep. And it gives you a good excuse if, okay, I messed up because the sun was in my eyes, Always look for an excuse.
Well, you got to remember that even on those days it's windy, the teams switch at halftime. So both teams have to face the elements.
Yep.
They have to adapt to what the playing conditions are.
And there is a little bit of wind here, nothing to really, hang your hat and say, okay, that's going to make a difference in the game. Just a beautiful, beautiful game played on an early Wednesday afternoon. Aberdeen again in the blue, North Harford in the white. Neither team has really had an offensive threat yet. Just about 2 minutes into the game.
When I was coaching, I used to tell my players, young players, I was not high school, younger youth players, and sometimes they would get frustrated. They complain, the referee this or the field that, and I would tell them, there are three things that you can't control when you're on the field. You can't control the field, the condition of the field. You can't control the weather, and you can't control the officials. So the only thing you can do is control you, and what you do and what your teammates do.
And now you become an official, and so you see it from the other side. All those years as a coach, you were complaining, "What in the world are you doing, Mr. Official?" Now, we had Janice Rhodes, who works field hockey with me, says that when she's refereeing, she would get it. Here comes the Hawks. Get a chance. Hawks with the shot and a goal by North Harford as they break through at 37:20 left here in this first half. A one-on-one goal. Let's see if we can pick up the number of the young man who scored. Bobby, looked like he came out of nowhere to get in the opening and then beat the goalie one-on-one.
Well, he broke through the middle. Okay, so he had one defender on him, but he wasn't able to keep up. Looks like number 19.
You're thinking 19 is the one who scored for North Harford? If that's true, that's Matthew Diley. He's the junior striker, the young man we talked about who had that concussion. Here comes a replay. You'll be able to see breaking through all by himself, beating one man and then beating the goalie.
That was an excellent feeding pass. Put it right on his feet. He didn't move stride at all on his way to the goal.
37-20, the first goal of the game. North Harford on the attack. Nice centering pass. Good job by Aberdeen to be able to break that up. Back to my point about Janice Rhodes, she said she would gather the fans together before the game and she would say, "How many of you people know the rules of field hockey?" And they would all say no. And she would say, "Well, then I don't want to hear the yelling at the referee there." It's kind of a good way to do it, right?
Yes.
Offside is the call. Hawks up 1-0. Again, as we mentioned, they come in at 3-6. Their record really 5-8 overall, 3-6 in the league. And we talked about last year, they were 9-7, lost in the state semifinals. Young team, not nearly as young as Aberdeen. Out of bounds, it'll go over to the white-clad North Harford Hawks. Throw-in coming from Jamal Holmes. Jamal, a senior, 6 goals and 1 assist on the year for Jamal Holmes. Leading goal scorer on the team from the midfield position for the Hawks. Hawks coached by Eric Lane. Eric Lane, who played for North Harford back in 85 to 89. The idea of coming back after many, many years, I don't want to say many years because I've been longer than that, but coaching where you were a player back in the day, that has to be a thrill.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of that actually.
Yeah.
That students in a particular school, they come back and teach.
Well, the good thing about it is 85, 89, nobody is left in the school who remembers him. So you can make up stories. Yeah, I scored 20 goals in my senior year. I mean, who's going to check it out, right? Come the Hawks, getting it out. Ball out of bounds. Hawks on the throw-in, and now that wind, Bob, that we were speaking of, picking up just a little bit. Looks like it's blowing crossfield. There's Holmes, number 2.
A little bit of breeze, but not enough to affect play, I don't think.
We talked about the field. This is one of the older turf fields in the county. It's still in good shape, even though as you look at it on your TV screen, it looks a little shiny. You know, it's sort of worn down over the years. Ball coming back to the goalie. Scooped up there by the Aberdeen goalie, Jack Morrill. I think this field is maybe the one due next to get replaced. Bob, I think it's like $1 million. You being a Board of Education member in the past, you probably remember the cost of a turf field.
It used to be. Now I've been off the board for a while, and of course everything's going up in price. But yes, that was the going rate was about $1 million per field, and on average, they were saying that a turf field should last about 10 years.
Yeah, and you think about all that you play. Now you're playing field hockey, you're playing soccer, you're playing lacrosse, you're playing football. You know, you're playing all those sports game after game, day after day, and yet the field absorbs it. Unlike in the old days when you had a grass field, it ended up being a mud field by mid-season.
Yeah, so what it actually is really helped with the scheduling and being able to play games because with pretty rare exception, you don't need to cancel or reschedule games that are played on the turf.
Yeah, lightning may be the only reason that you would, delay a game or cancel it.
And in reality, you don't need as many fields at a school system because you have everybody can basically play on the same field. The only problem then is becomes everybody wants to fight for it.
There you go. Yeah. Back in the old days when we had one gym, and they used to have to schedule the girls to practice, the boys JV and the varsity. You'd be practicing varsity at 7:30 at night. Not that I'm complaining because the girls got the first chance to play on the court. I did then, to no avail. Looking for Aberdeen for the equalizing goal if they can get it. That's that dangerous rolling goal. Ian Lewis, the goalie for North Harford, did a nice job of getting down, protecting it. Bob, how many times over the years in your playing days and coaching days and refereeing days have you seen a little ball like that squirt right by the goalie?
That is one thing that's possible on these turf fields is sometimes the ball likes to skip a little bit.
Yeah.
And so as a goalie, you got to make sure that you're getting down in front of the ball just like any infielder in baseball.
Yep.
So that you make sure that your legs are tight so that even if it slips through your hands that at least your body is going to block the ball.
Aberdeen on the attack. Ball out of bounds. It goes off Aberdeen into the hands of North Harford. That's Nathan Bungart who will be tossing the ball in. And you see the wind carrying that throw in just about all the way back, and wisely kicks it back to the goalie. They'll reset. Here come the Hawks looking to pass it. I'm impressed with North Harford's passing game.
Yeah, they've been their players have been moving to space, creating pockets and opportunities for players to pass through.
You talked about that first goal, and I didn't pick up the young man who passed the ball to Diley for the goal, but that was a brilliant pass. Well, right in front of the goal, nobody can get a foot on it. Approaching the 30-minute mark in this first half. 40-minute halves. Hawks keeping the pressure on.
We just saw what you were talking about, an example of do you know the rules? So we had a situation back in Aberdeen's penalty box where a ball actually hit the arm of an Aberdeen player. And of course I could hear anyway, a lot of the fans hollering handball, handball. They weren't running a penalty kick in there. But just because the ball touches the hand or the arm doesn't make it an infraction.
Come on, it's supposed to. It's a handball.
Oh, there's a break.
And he's not offside either.
No.
Good job getting back on defense. Good job on all. Nice save.
Yep.
Boy, that was a brilliant save by Jack Morrill. And now, just like that, the ball bounces around and finds the goal. Boy, Morrill made a great save, and the ball, though, didn't get cleared, got right back, and the goal is scored. 29 minutes, 54 seconds, the second goal for North Harford. Bob, did you see who that rebound?
I believe it was number 19 again.
That Diley who has 5 goals on the year, 2 last week, his first game back against Falston. Here you'll see the replay. The first shot. Nice maneuvering, but then a brilliant save. But the ball doesn't get cleared.
Yeah, he tried to place that ball, need a little bit more on it, and then another shot, rebound, and he stayed in the position where he was able to get to the ball.
Looked like it was Diley right in the sun there. I'm not going to.
Yeah, 19.
19. Diley's got both goals for the North Harford Hawks. They lead 2-0. We're now inside the 30-minute mark. Again, if you're the Hawks, that's what you want. You've got a team that is an undermanned team, underage team, if you will. You want to be able to get up on them, take the fight out of them if you can. Hawks keep in control, taking it back, setting it up again.
That's something actually young players usually don't seem to understand, is that you don't always have to be going forward. The idea is you're getting pressure, you can release, get some relief from the pressure by passing it back to your own teammates who aren't being challenged by the other team. So then again, you can reset and become a coordinated approach.
Yeah, part of that experience you gain, and Bob, as they say, the trouble with experience, you only get it by experiencing it. You just can't earn it. You can't, just wave your magic wand and suddenly become expert at the nuances of the game. North Harford resetting. Goalie Ian Lewis, who, again, we talked about him being the senior goalie with 70 saves. Such a comforting feeling, Bob, if you're a team, to know that that man at the last line of defense is somebody who's been through it for now 4 years. Here come the Hawks again.
Nice pass.
Beautiful pass. And another goal by the Hawks.
Number 2.
Number 2 scores the goal, and that number 2 is Jamal Holmes. Now he's got his 7th goal in the year and the 3rd goal of the game. Holmes scores at the 27:49 mark.
It'll be an assist by number 19.
Diley, who had the 5 goals and 2 assists coming in, now has 7 goals and 3 assists. You'll see this great pass. And then the shot just beating the goalie to the lower right-hand side. No chance for Morill to be able to make that save. So North Harford has scored 3 times here, twice by Diley, now once by Holmes. Sub coming in for Aberdeen. Again, we mentioned the Eagles JV team won again today on the road. They now have lost just 1 and tied 1 all year long. The varsity 0-8 coming in. And we mentioned it. You've got a team that has, 10 sophomores on it, Aberdeen does. But they've got 3 seniors. They had senior night a couple of weeks ago. And you just feel bad for a senior who, waits his entire high school career for a team that has relatively no seniors on the team.
Well, that actually happened in my own experience like that. Here we were in way back when I was at Edgewood, and we won the county championship in '72 with a very senior-laden team, and I was one of, I think, just 4 seniors on the next year, and of course we didn't do as well.
Yeah. It's something you live with, and you say 1972, and the way I figured that's 40-some years ago.
Over 50.
50 years ago, and it's still fresh in your mind, and that's what I'm saying about young people who they will remember these days they played high school ball together, good and bad. The bad tends to sometimes fade away, and you remember the good. Hawks looking for their 4th win on the season, looking to try to get in position.
The guess could pass through just a little bit too far.
A little too far, and good job by goalie Lewis to come out and cut down the angle and make the save before the developing situation for Aberdeen.
Well, just make sure that the defense keep on their toes.
Here's Diley again. Check it, Holmes, number 2 with the ball. He's cut off by the Aberdeen defense. I like the spirit of this Aberdeen team. You're down 3-0. You're looking for your first win of the year. Be kind of easy to lay down and say, you know, hey, I put forth the effort. Once again, Bob, I asked you that question. You've been a coach on a team that is, let's say, winning, or in this case, not winning, and then keeping the spirit up, coming to practice every day, trying to get better, knowing that the rewards might be not visible on the scoreboard. Just a tough thing. It's easy to be enthusiastic when you're winning. Aberdeen, long shot, a little bit wide.
Well, you could be a member of the Chicago White Sox.
Ooh, historically bad. You know, they'll make people forget the Black Sox of 1919. People are saying, what? That was the team that blew the World Series, or actually gave it away to gamblers, and will be forever remembered as Shoeless Joe Jackson's reason he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I was just a mere child in those days, Bob, but I remember it. You should say, no, Don, you're not that old. Here comes Aberdeen with a chance. Oh, great defensive job.
Yeah, good.
That's
good
Brungard.
shoulder to shoulder there.
Brungard, number 13, but it looked like a developing chance for Aberdeen, Bob.
Soccer is a contact sport. There was a case where you were what they call charging. You're allowed to fair charge your opponent as long as you don't do it in such a way that makes it obvious that you pushed them off.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting. I've heard it described that soccer is a contact sport. Football is a collision sport. You know, you talk about, well, soccer, you don't have to be tough. Well, those who have tried to play the game, here comes Riley, or Diley again, excuse me. Number 19, this young man who's making up for lost time. Lost about, 7 games at mid-year because of that concussion. Scored 2 goals in the game before he got the concussion and 2 goals in the game after, and now he scored 2 goals already today. Just a junior is Diley. We talked about situations, Bob, and imagine that if you're a senior and for whatever reason you don't get to play your senior year. Thinking back to the COVID days. Here comes North Harford again. Oh, great save. Good diving save by the Aberdeen goalie, by Jack Morrell. I still, that year that they lost to the COVID where there were no sports played. Or let's say you get hurt in your senior year and miss your entire senior year.
Yeah, they don't have redshirt opportunities in high school.
Comes Aberdeen looking to try to get on the board. Aberdeen has scored just 3 goals all season long. 3 goals in 8 games. You're not going to win many games by scoring just 3 goals. Goalie Ian Lewis comes out to retrieve the ball. We are at Aberdeen High School. It is the Aberdeen Eagles taking on the North Harford Hawks.
Now offside.
That was a clear offside as Holmes got himself. Bob, explain that offside rule so that fans can understand it.
Well, you have to have at least 2 defenders between you and the goal, or at least have the ball between you and the goal. So 2 things happen on offsides. Either the offensive player anticipates the kick before it happens, and so they find themselves offsides when the ball is kicked. It's not where they are when they receive it. It's where they are when the ball is kicked.
Yeah.
Or what you'll see is defenders are watching to see where the offensive players are, and they play what they call an offside trap. In other words, they'll pull up suddenly right before they can see that the ball is going to be kicked and put the other player in an offside position.
But every defender has to be aware of that. If one defender is, let's say, not aware, and then you find out you've just given the other team an open goal.
And we'll see that a lot is, oh, well, they were offside. You know, the player got
Here's
beat.
Holmes. Holmes with a shot. Ooh, just wide. Good job by goalie Morrill coming out and cutting down the angle, making him take that shot. Just barely missed the lower corner. Good job by Holmes.
So, but frequently what's happened is, as an official, I'm staying with the next to last defender, and most of the time you'll see is that I have to point out the fact that defender on the far side of the field they weren't in sync, and so that was the one that they kept them on side.
Wind picking up just a bit here as the afternoon goes just a little bit later. This game was scheduled to start at 7 o'clock, and instead it started a couple of hours earlier because of a teacher meeting that is happening here in Aberdeen. I don't know if that upsets your planning, Bob, if you're thinking the game is going to start at a certain time and it starts earlier than it was supposed to.
If you're the player, you're the athlete, you're ready to go. Matter of fact, playing later sometimes is not actually an advantage because you just get antsy. You can't wait.
Yep.
And you get nervous energy. So
I'm thinking
you're
about
ready to go.
The football game they had the other night in Pittsburgh, where it was supposed to schedule to start at 9 o'clock, and they had an hour and a half long lightning delay, so the game didn't get started until 10:30. That had to be tough on football players getting ready to play a contact sport. I'm thinking also as a pitcher, when you are delayed, you've done your warm-ups, and all of a sudden maybe your team scores 7 runs in the top of the first inning, and that's good, but you're sitting in the dugout getting all stiff and bothered, while you have to come out and get 8 warm-up pitches to be able to throw in the bottom of the first. So it's good to be able to keep a schedule. I think the players were aware in advance that the game was going to start 2 hours earlier than originally scheduled. Looking at the fans in the stands, and there's a goodly number, maybe 100 or 2, all looking right into the sun right now. They would say, we'd rather start at 7 o'clock when the sun is down.
And that actually becomes a factor for officials as well, is that the officials are looking into the sun as well when the ball's coming in down there. And sometimes it gets to a point where you're seeing the shadows on the field, and you can't really distinguish colors very well. All you see are shadows. You see outlines of players.
We talked about the field being an older turf field, and it's got a shine on it, which again sometimes obscures the play. Again, not complaining about turf fields because we go back to the old days when you play on ruts and the area around the goal just got so worn down.
Here's a chance.
And a goal for Aberdeen. Goalie comes out, Lewis, and he's caught sort of twixt in between, and they're able to get the ball by for their 4th goal of the year, their first goal of the night. That coming at 17:24.
Number 19.
19, this time the 19 for Aberdeen. And that is Caleb Holmes, the senior, number 19, who scores a goal for Aberdeen.
Again, another nice splitting pass. Player was able to take the ball on stride.
Here you'll be able to see it, Bob. Explain how this happens.
A great feed pass.
Yeah, it
Like I
was.
say, he was just, he put it right where he needed to be. He was able to pretty much just one touch to set himself up, and then a nice strike with the right foot.
This is Caleb Holmes for Aberdeen. Jamal Holmes just a couple of moments ago scored the goal for North Harford. Here comes Aberdeen again. If you're Coach Kevin Williams, you've got to be proud of your team. You're down 3-0. You have yet to win, but you're not giving up. You're now back within 2 goals. Bob, you score another goal, and all of a sudden you're North Harford, and you start to sweat a bit.
Well, all you need is one to get you some confidence and maybe build some momentum off of that.
That was a beautiful goal. I didn't catch the young man who made the pass to Holmes who got the goal. It was well done. And you saw that case where Lewis could have laid back, Bob, and maybe in that case would have been wise He'd have been one-on-one, but at least, Caleb Holmes saw the goalie was out and just kicked it right on by. Decision you've got to make right away.
Offside there.
Number 19, Diley, is a bit offside.
A little ambitious.
Yeah, it's such a fine line. You want to be able to get that pass, but, the defenders, you said, Bob, very smartly, allowed him to go by maybe and maybe trapped him a bit into the offside call. Aberdeen to kick the ball away on a free kick. Intercepted by North Harford, puts the field back in the opposite end. Good job taking the ball away. It's Diley again.
See, there was a perfect example of the defender had a release by pushing the ball back to the keeper where no offensive player could be, would have been able to control the ball, reset. Instead, he tried to play the ball himself with his back to the player, and number 19, again, was almost able to get around him and score.
Diley reminds me very much of a young man named Robert Hench who played here back in the day, back in the 1970s. The striker and your mentality. Let's see, here they are again. And did that go in?
Yes.
It hit off the pole and went into the goal. Looked like Diley this time who made the pass. See if we can see who got the goal for North Harford. So just like that at 14:50.
Number 5.
Here is the replay. Number 5 for North Harford. Looking at my scorecard, I don't see a number 5. Here is the replay. That is Mason French with the goal. French with the goal at 14:47.
Now, some people would look at that and say, well, he was behind the defender when he received the ball. Well, yes, he was, but he was even with the next last defender when the ball was kicked. And that's the difference between onside and offside. Not where you receive it, it's where you were when the ball was kicked.
Good job by the North Harford defender. He saw that Lewis was a little bit indecisive as to whether to come out for the ball or not and kicked it out of the play. Here comes Lewis. Ian Lewis, number 32, the senior, 70 saves on the year. Looking to pick up his 4th win of the year.
And if you're North Harford, this is the way you respond to being scored on.
Yeah. Yeah, all the momentum that was Aberdeen's, they scored the goal and then they were on offense a couple times. Now, just like that, they're back down by 3 goals. Good passing. Kick out of play to reset the ball by Aberdeen. We mentioned about being a striker. We talked about a goalie being sort of like a leader. Well, a striker has to be, let's say you have no conscience at all. Just give me the ball and I'm going to find a way to get it into the net. That was Robert. Robert may not have been the most talented. Here's a kick out of play. Maybe not the most talented soccer player, but he led the league in scoring, by a wide margin. Do you remember Robert Hench, the Hench brothers?
Yes, I remember that.
In Aberdeen. That was when they won the state title. Terry Colall, the late great Terry Colall, the coach. Roger Gompers and Cal Ripken Jr. played on that team back in the day. You remember him, right? Cal, he made a name in another sport.
Yeah.
I forget what it was. Was it this? Oh, yeah, baseball. Yeah. Yeah, Calvin was an excellent soccer player. And a great basketball player, too. Never played the sport in high school, but he certainly could have. Lewis coming out, he's got to get there, and he does. Boy, that's smart not to try to pick it up. He couldn't have. He was out of the net by the time and out of that goalie box.
I recently did a college game where a lot of times when the ball's way down the other end, the keeper will come way out of their goal, and was actually the keeper was standing outside of their penalty box. Okay.
That was Holmes who took the ball away.
And was unaware of where they were.
Yeah.
And one of the players just took a long kick from way beyond midfield, and the goalie caught it. And they were out of the box. It was handball.
But I can use my hands on my goalie. Not when you're out of the box. Holmes, nice center. Jamal Holmes, number 2, the senior for North Harford, played an excellent game. That's what you expect out of your senior. 6 goals, 1 assist for Caleb Holmes. Excuse me, for Jamal Holmes. What a great throw. Goldie has to come out and pick it up, Jack Morrell. That throw was halfway across the field, Bob. What an advantage that is to be able to throw the ball that length on an accurate kind of a throw.
Yeah, that the kids seem to be able to throw the ball farther and farther. And what you'll see is kids are specialists at throwing the ball in.
Yeah, almost like a corner kick, being able to put it in the center that way. Back it goes to the goalie. The advantage of kicking the ball rather than picking it up, Bob, the goalie did that time?
It depends. If you think you've got necessary to clear the ball out, or you're actually trying to kick it to one of your own players.
Yeah.
But generally, most of the time, what I've seen is that they're just kicking the ball out. And so many teams now, they're not, especially on goal kicks, they are not kicking the ball up the field, because the reality is half the time you lose it.
Yeah.
So what they are starting to do is play the ball directly from the back towards for some of their own players that are actually in their own penalty box, and trying to build momentum moving up the field by control instead of just haphazardly kicking the ball.
Boy, what a great play by Holmes, able to kick it over. And Holmes one-on-one with the goalie and makes the shot. Boy, what a great play. That was all Jamal Holmes. Took the ball away on a one-on-one play and then came right down the field and beat the goalie up high on the left-hand side. What a goal that was.
The goalie didn't have any opportunity to stop that one. That ball was hit with such authority. By the time he reacted, the ball was by him.
You'll see this, exactly what Bob was talking about.
Ball actually had a little curve on it. It was curving away from the keeper.
Yeah, that sort of slice ball. Jamal Holmes, his second goal of the game. Senior now has 8 goals on the year. An impressive player. You've got Holmes and you've got Daly, I'll tell you what, or Diley, excuse me, the striker. Those 2 players are tough to handle. 2 goals each, looking for a hat trick. Now the score 5-1.
You know, so many times it's almost, and I'll use the football analogy, is that you play zone defense or you play man-to-man. And generally what you'll see is defenders, they'll play an area on the field. They're assigned a position. They're either the right back, center back, left back, and they patrol an area. But there are occasions, and that actually even happened to me when I was in high school, we were playing Aberdeen. And one of their players was prolific goal scorer. He was very fast, and the coach, Paul Metzger.
That was Holmes again, being that time shunted away from the shot.
Another corner, and he said, "Look," he says, "we're not going to play the normal stuff." He says, "He's your guy wherever he goes on the field.
Marking.
You're supposed to mark him." And so
Holmes with the corner. Just a bit far, and that wind may have carried it. Right in front of the goal. Holmes again.
Quick feet.
Jamal.
Another corner.
Another corner coming up. So Metzger had the strategy for it, huh?
Yeah, and I can brag a little bit. He never scored.
There you go.
And the game ended in a 1-1 tie.
Again, 45, 50, some years ago. Looks like another corner coming up. Talk about corner kicks, and corner kicks don't always, in fact, they don't usually end up in a goal, but they certainly do present an opportunity to score.
You see a lot of times dramatic goals from a corner kick because the ball's high and there's an opportunity for get those really great looking headers.
Nice job by goalie Morrell. Morrell comes out and sort of knocks the ball away. French. Chance for the goal. That time a good job defensively by Aberdeen. So North Harford scored the first 3 goals. They're up 3-0. Aberdeen made it 3-1. And it looked like it was going to become a nip and tuck game, but North Harford now has scored 2 goals in a row. Right now they have the game in control at 5-1. 7 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first half. Hawks during the year, their 3 wins have been against Elkton, Eastern Tech, Harford Tech, and Haverty Grace. That's actually 4 wins. One of those was out of the conference. They lost their last 3 in a row. They lost to Bel Air 2-1, Falston 4-0, and the last game they lost to Falston 3-2. Looking to try to break that 3-game losing streak is North Harford on the road. Aberdeen, as we mentioned, 0-8 on the season, looking for that first win of the year.
That they were actually able to beat Eastern Tech is pretty interesting, because they're one of the better programs in Baltimore County. And in fact, I officiated a game between Eastern Tech and Patterson Mill earlier this season, and Patterson Mill was able to win that game 1-0.
And they also beat Sparrows Point in an early game in the year 3-2. Sparrows Point, Bob, as I understand it, is one of the traditional powerhouses. Here comes Jamal again. Oh, great center. And he misses the shot.
Unselfish there. He drew the defenders over, was hoping for a pass right in front of the goal, just wasn't able to connect on that.
Jamal Holmes with the pass. That, Bob, you're so right. He could have taken that shot and perhaps made it, but he saw a chance for an easier goal by his teammate. He will get a corner kick out of it.
And actually, I just officiated a game last night against Sparrows Point, and they are also a very good program that you'll see in Baltimore County.
And North Harford has a win over them and Eastern Tech. So you know the quality of soccer is very high here in Harford County. You mentioned that last year North Harford went 9-7. They lost in the state semifinals to Damascus. That's after 2022 when they lost in the state final game against Glenelg. So Bob, I'll ask you this question. Would you rather get to the state finals and lose, or just not even get to the state finals?
I don't know. You got to get to the final.
Yeah, I agree. I hear some people say, "Oh gosh, that's terrible. We lost." My granddaughter, who's a very good athlete and a very competitive athlete, said that's like finishing second place. That's not. I try to say, hey, you've got about 100 other teams who wish they were in second place.
Oh, that's right. How many other teams wish they had gotten there?
Yep. Collision. It looked like 2 Aberdeen players colliding. Boy, the footwork of Jamal Holmes, number 2. Contact. A little chippy there, and Jamal sort of steps over top of the defender.
And we have our first yellow card.
You get a little frustrated when you've been, let's say, fleeced a couple of times by Jamal Holmes, and maybe a little contact, a little overly aggressive. Give credit to Holmes too. I mean, he could have broken bad and perhaps made a scene, but he said, "No, I'll just get a penalty kick out of it." How's that?
Well, it's just outside the box.
Holmes, you can see walking a little.
Now he's given the card, and the player hasn't left the field yet. And that's a requirement. Is that at high school, not at club level, not at college, not professional. The player gets a yellow card, they must leave the field.
Sebastian McNally, number 25, to put the ball in play. Bob, you mentioned outside the penalty box, so it's not a penalty kick per se.
It's a dangerous kick. It's a set piece, so they'll have a play very much similar to what you would see in a corner kick.
McNally assessing the field, seeing what exactly he wants to do. Goalie Jack Morrell, of course, under pressure here. His team down 5-1. McNally, one of the seniors on this North Harford team. Nice little chip, but a good defensive play. Good header by Aberdeen to keep it out of there. Taken away momentarily by the Eagles and right back to North Harford. It was Ryder Taylor, number 22 for North Harford a moment ago, who settled the ball. Good job by Cale Sims, number 7. He and Jamal Holmes together there. Guess as a coach, you don't like to see two of your players side by side. Here's Ryder Taylor to throw the ball in. Jamal Holmes, ooh, looked like he was going to maybe hit for the right side. That time Bobby tried the left side and couldn't snake it in.
Yeah, he kind of was with the off foot there. He tried to hit it on the outside of his right foot instead of what would have been probably the preferable place is to take it with a strong on the left foot.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the issue. A lot of times to be a really good soccer player, you have to be able to use both feet equally well.
Yeah. We were mentioning those Aberdeen teams back in the day when Roger Gompers, he was left-footed. And boy, that's like having a piece of gold to have somebody who's strong left-footer. He took those shots from the left-hand side of the field. He's just deadly.
Just a little bit too much of the player there. Got a foul coming in. It's an opportunity for Aberdeen.
Eagles again down by those 4 goals. They had cut it to 3-1, and now they're down 5-1. Coming up on the last couple of moments here of this first half, a minute 24 and counting. Good job coming out and making the save was Ian Lewis. Had 1 goal scored against Lewis today by Aberdeen. Aberdeen's Caleb Holmes with the only goal for the Eagles. We mentioned Aberdeen with just 4 goals now all season long. This from a team who last year was 6-5-2, who went to the playoffs and lost by 1-0 to Baltimore City College. So you're thinking about a team under Coach Kevin Williams, who was right there last year, and this year they're 0-8, and easily explained 3 seniors on the team. All kinds of seniors graduated last year. No fun, Bob. Never is being on a losing team. You try to talk about sports and how they teach you lessons for life, and a lesson that you're not always going to be on the winning side. How do you handle being on that losing side? Well, speaking of the end of the first half, which is what just happened, that horn you heard, we have come to the end of the first half with that 5-1 lead by the North Harford Hawks. They scored the first 3 goals. Aberdeen made it 3-1, and then North Harford came back with 2 goals to make it 5-1. Bob, real quickly, if you were the Aberdeen coach, what would you say to your team? You're down by 4 goals?
You just have to keep trying, okay? They recognize probably they're not as skilled as the other team, and they have a couple of really dynamic players up front. And so, maybe change your strategy, your defensive strategy a little bit. You give up some of your offensive opportunities to try to become a little bit more stout on your defense. Maybe do a man-on-man marking that you might consider, or double teaming certain individuals. But at this point, it's just, okay, show some heart,
Yep.
Work on it. We'll learn from this. We'll get better from this.
And we'll get better in the second half. At least I will. You're already so good, Bob. I don't know how you can get any better. We will take a break. We'll come back with the second half action in just a moment. Stay tuned. Don't go away. Hello, hello. Hello, we're back with you here at Aberdeen High School. the Aberdeen Eagles and the North Harford Hawks. That first half, Bob, a good half of play, especially for North Harford. They did what they needed to do, and that is they came in and they established themselves as the dominant team. 3 goals they score before Aberdeen scores, and then right when it looked like Aberdeen might have a chance to get back into the game, 2 goals for North Harford. 2 people in particular, Jamal Holmes for North Harford and Matthew Diley for North Harford. 2 goals each. They have sort of dominated the game offensively for North Harford.
Yeah, and I did notice that number 19 came out towards the latter half of the first period. So giving him a break, maybe trying to, at this point, would be games well in hand. This is your opportunity as a coach to get some of your other players in, to get them kind of experience that they'll need going forward, especially with state playoffs that are coming are actually pretty quick this year.
Yeah, we're almost to the end of the regular season. Speaking of Matthew Diley, remember we told you that he had a concussion early in the season, scored 2 goals, and then right only the second or third game, he's concussed. He's out, for most of the season. Just came back against Falston, scored 2 goals against them. Now he has 2 goals here tonight against North Harford, and I think you're right. Taking him out, maybe his stamina been out for that whole time, not quite what he needs to be. Again, as you said, the game well in hand. Let's take him out. Let's get some of the younger players in. Hope you're enjoying this game. The sun going down here at Aberdeen. It's shining brightly. It's maybe, in the mid-60s. The wind has just about died completely. The good thing, if you're North Harford especially, is now you're going to be going from right to left. You're going to be going not into the sun. And I guess maybe that's a better way to play the second half. If you're Aberdeen, you're going to be kicking the ball right into the sun. And the goalie, in the case of Aberdeen, is going to have that sun right in his face. Just about ready for the beginning of the second half. North Harford in their white visiting uniforms, coming in at 3-6 in the league. They're 5-8 overall. Aberdeen 0-8 on the season. Eagles will be going in their blue uniforms from left to right. Aberdeen going, North Harford going from right to left. Underway, second 40-minute half, the 5-1 lead for North Harford. Aberdeen looking to get back into the game. Bob, you've got to do it one goal at a time. A goal doesn't count any more than 1 point, so you just have to chip away if you're Aberdeen.
Yeah, just keep working.
If you're North Harford, the last thing you want to have happen is the momentum. And you know that, Bob, that momentum in this game is probably as tough as it is in most sports. And that is, once the ball seems to start rolling in your favor, it seems to snowball.
So offside call there, number 19, just a little ambitious.
We talked about the attitude of a striker, and that is to give me the ball. I'm going to take it and score. Clock running inside the 39-minute mark.
An interesting new rule change here, inside Maryland only. As officials and as the game is managed, the high school game, we're governed by called the National Federation of High School Sports. And they set the rules for all sports in high school, whatever, football, basketball, wrestling, anything. They control, they're a national who set those rules. And there's no such thing as a mercy rule in Federation.
Yeah.
However, Maryland decided that they were going to implement one this year. And really the impetus for making that decision was what happens at the playoff level. So basically any high school team can be involved in the playoffs if they want to be. And so we see teams that are the lesser skill with
Almost a breakaway there for North Harford.
And we were seeing early on in the early stages of the playoffs, we were seeing scores like 12-0, 15 to nothing, 14 to 1, that sort of thing. And so this year they've decided what they call a mercy rule. So if a team is ahead by 8 goals by the 60th minute of a high school game, the game's over.
That'd be halfway through the second half,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah. And on the JV side, since they don't play 40 minutes, they play a 30-minute half. If it's 8 goals by the 45th minute, the game is over.
So right now with 5-1, just hypothetically, let's say the North Harford would score 4 goals, and they would be up 9-1. They'd be up by 8 goals. Let's say at the 20-minute mark. So you're saying that the game would come to an end?
Yes.
And again, only in Maryland, you're saying?
Only in Maryland they've made that decision.
Yeah, it's similar to the rules in softball or baseball, where if you're leading by 10 runs after 5 innings, after both teams have batted 5 times, then that would call the game to an end. Slaughter rule, mercy rule, you've shown your domination, and the chances of the team that's behind that far coming back are pretty slim.
And that's something else is that while they, in public schools, they still play overtime. And what has happened is that in the last couple of years.
Oh, nice
There
header.
it is, header.
That was a great pass by Holmes, number 2. Who got the head? I think the young man on the
25, I believe.
If it's 25, that's Sebastian McNally.
No, I'm sorry. It looks like a 20.
Let's see if we can see that number. We were talking about the sun being an issue. Yeah, it does look like
20.
Number 20. And that's one of the young players from North Harford, not among the starting group. So that is Nicholas Anderson, number 20, only a sophomore. Here you'll see it. Watch this cross by Holmes. And what a beautiful head. That was so well done.
And that's exactly what you want to do. You want to have
Almost a goal for Aberdeen.
you want to have the goalie moving in the opposite direction.
So at the 35-50 mark of the second half, the goal on the header by number 20, Nicholas Anderson for North Harford. So they go up by 6-1. We talked about Caleb Holmes, Jamal Holmes, number 2 for North Harford, just being a dominant player. That time, the assist, he had an assist already coming into the game, and I think he has now 2 officially here or unofficially in this game. There he is, number 2. Well, he's just the kind of guy that stands out, Bob. You don't have to really look for him. He seems to be in on every play. There's 5 number 2s out there. How can he be all over the field?
Oh, should have hit it one time. There
Oh,
we go.
And he gets into the goal. What a nice little curving goal by Aberdeen. And just like that, the Eagles have cut the lead back to 4 at 6-2. See if we can get a number on who scored that goal for Aberdeen. Bob, you were saying that he looked like he was going to hit it early and didn't, and then was able to hit it right by the goalie.
Yeah, I thought he.
Here's the replay. We'll be able to see who it is. You'll see he has the ball. And now shoots it, and it sneaks into that goal. Still didn't. Number 14, we're thinking for Aberdeen. That would be Toby Dosseau. Yeah, I think that's who it was.
Yeah.
So Toby Dosseau gets the goal. Toby just a sophomore. Aberdeen's second goal of the night. Bob, think about it. They only had 3 goals for the entire season. We're talking about Aberdeen. They get 2 goals tonight.
Yeah, so we have a dangerous play on this. It was very high kick, so considered a dangerous situation. So that'll be an indirect kick, which means it has to touch another player before it goes into the goal.
Another offensive or defensive player or either one?
Defensive player created a high kick situation.
The head by Aberdeen getting it out of there. That would be good if you were Justin Tucker.
Yes.
Doesn't count for anything in this game, though. And the North Harford player down doing push-ups. I think that's a self-imposed penalty for kicking the ball through the uprights.
And I think he did 3 push-ups.
It's Kenny McMahon who went to the 30-yard line and did, you know, from my case, Bob, I'd have trouble doing the 3 push-ups, so I'm glad I wasn't involved. So if we were talking about that mercy rule, if you're Aberdeen, obviously you're behind by 4 goals, but we were talking about an 8-goal margin. They've now made it just a full 4-goal difference. So the last thing you want to do is to have the game end early if you're Aberdeen. French, nice pass. Down he goes, and yep, it will be a penalty against North Harford.
Just outside the box.
Looks like their feet got crossed, but it was the defensive player who tripped him up. It was Cale Simmons, number 7 for North Harford, who went down.
And some people would be saying, oh, that's a penalty kick because the player fell down inside the box. But it's where the contact starts.
You officials, you know all that stuff. We fans, all we say is, yeah, go ahead and let him get a penalty kick. Looks like it'll be Sims who will put the ball in play.
Just kicked it straight out.
Yeah, left foot kicking. It was not Sims. May have been Ryder Taylor, number 22.
So what I was talking about before, saying that the high school in Maryland, we play overtime if necessary. But what the colleges have gone to, and in the private schools and the leagues in Maryland here, have gone away from playing overtime. Go to regulations, and if it's a tie, the game ends in a tie. And really the rationale for that is that frequently, even after you've played the overtime periods, the game still is a tie.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're really putting a lot of extra stress on the players for having to play another quarter, basically, of a game. You take the chance of injuries. You take the chance of some player getting a red card and have to sit out. So a couple of the leagues have made the decisions that they're not going to pursue colleges and private schools.
But here there are 2 10-minute overtimes. Golden goal, the first goal to score would be the winner, but no shootout except until you get to the playoffs.
Playoffs are when you must have a winner.
Yeah, so you could see a tie. Kind of like in Major League Baseball, where they've gone to the idea of putting a runner on second base in the extra innings. The idea to try to make the game end as quickly as you can. Almost.
Nice defensive play there.
Yes, it was.
Stepping right in front of Daly there and taking the ball away, because otherwise he was going to be one-on-one with the keeper again.
Yeah. It looked like that was Daly, the young man who, number 19, who had scored the 2 goals already today. Back to that idea about, in the major leagues. Some people say, well, that is just, the purist would say, why would you do that? Well, because, you don't want to use up your pitching staff. You don't want the game to go on for, 15, 16 innings. So you put a runner on second base, you almost guarantee that somebody's going to score pretty quickly. Same thing as you were mentioning here in soccer. Corner kick coming. Different strategy there. You kick the ball on the ground, and
yeah, I don't know if it was a missed kick or whether he was expecting his player to run out to get the ball, and there's just miscommunication between the players. Usually, I mean, sometimes they'll work on specific plays like that.
Cole Schultz will throw the ball in, so North Harford does retain possession, leading by that 4-goal margin. 5-1 at the half, 6-1, and now 6-2. Two goals by Daly, the first 2 goals of the game scored for North Harford. Then Jamal Holmes for North Harford, followed by Caleb Holmes for Aberdeen. And then French with a goal, and then Holmes with a goal. Jamal Holmes for North Harford. That's the scoring in the first half. 2 goals by Daly, 2 goals by Jamal Holmes. 1 goal by French. The goal for Aberdeen was scored by Caleb Holmes, number 19, in the first half. Battle in front of the net.
Now North Harford has decided to use Daly in the back now. He's playing as a defensive role.
Sun going down here at Aberdeen. The Eagles looking to try to get back into the game, and we're down 6-1. They have now narrowed it down to 6-2. Pace of the game, Bob, seems to have slowed a bit. North Harford with the throw in. Well, that's a good point you made, that Diley, who is the striker, now playing what, let's see, no, that's number 9. I'm confused a moment. Number 9 playing defensively, not number 19. Or maybe that is number 19. Yeah, that is 19. You're right, Bob. That Diley, again, the striker, has moved back. What we used to call the sweeper, the back defensive position. What would be the strategy of why you would do that? Why would you take your striker and move him back to be the sweeper?
Well, obviously he's probably the best player on the team, and so again, providing an opportunity for maybe you to develop some additional players up front, as we see number 2 now also leaving the field.
Yeah, Jamal Holmes, the other young man whom we've identified as sort of a standout among the players on the field.
So at this point, you're interested in protecting the lead. You don't necessarily need to score any more goals, really.
Eric Lane, the head coach at North Harford. Eric in his 3rd year leading the Hawks. Kind of interesting, Kevin Williams was telling us the story, the coach for Aberdeen, that he and Eric Lane played against one another in a tournament in Europe back in the 1980s.
Yeah, he said that was strange. They kind of recognized each other's names and kind of were piecing things together while they were talking before the game, and they kind of, hey, well, yeah, I was here the same time you were, and we were in the same tournament, and kind of put it together.
Well, nice move by Aberdeen. Good save. Goalie is able to scoop the ball up, Jack Morrell. Again, we mentioned Eric Lane, who played at North Harford from 1985 to 89, returning now to be their head coach. Comes Aberdeen.
That was good. Number 14 was able. There you go.
And a goal. Wow, he was able to beat the defender one-on-one. That's Toby Dassault. Toby, who scored the other goal here in this half, and now he's narrowed the score down to 6-3 with 24:54.
And that happened because he was able to out-jump Daly in the back to get that head ball.
Here you'll see how he's able to do it.
Yeah, just beat the keeper there.
Tough left-footed kick, and he had a very narrow angle to get that ball in the goal, Bob, but he was able to do it. 2 goals now for Dassault. The Hawks now have, or I should say the Eagles now have 3 goals today. You mentioned again they had 3 goals coming into the season, tonight after 8 games. So if you're Aberdeen, there's no such thing as a moral victory, and certainly they're looking to win this game. But you scored 3 goals, you have equaled your season's output in one night. That's not bad, Bob.
Well,
not a math major, but that's pretty good.
Well, you learn something from those other games.
Yep. And the idea of, mercy smercy is what Aberdeen is saying. We're not interested in any, mercy rule. We talked about just a moment ago, if they make it 9-1, 20 minutes into the game, it ends. Well, now we're approaching just about 20 minutes in the second half. And suddenly it's 6-2 with Aberdeen on the attack. I should say 6-3, pardon me. I'm impressed with both teams, the effort put forth and the talent that we're seeing, mostly young players out there. Two teams that came into the season off really winning years last year, and now both have losing records this season because, again, they had such a graduation issue, people graduating after their 4 years. We mentioned the Aberdeen JV team, one loss on the year, one loss and one tie, and they won the game here this afternoon 2-0. So, you know, you're looking, if you're Aberdeen, you know, how about the future? I think it looks pretty good. All but 3 of these players will be back, 3 seniors on the team. Good play by Aberdeen to get it away.
Nice pass. Oh, I was going to say, had a couple nice passes strung together there.
Hawks take it away. Eagle player down, no call. Bob, to the level of effort, I mean, you would expect nothing less, but both teams really laying it out there on the line. Coming up on the halfway mark left of this second half.
Corner kick.
Corner kick coming up from this near side. Somebody kicked the ball out of play. The clock still running. I guess at some point the official could call the clock to stop if he felt there was malingering going on.
Yes, and actually I had to do that last night. It's the it is the responsibility of the home team to provide what they call ball runners, so that players, when the ball's kicked way out of bounds, don't have to run way over there, and it takes time away from the game. But sometimes teams don't provide that. It's a foul.
Yeah, taken down there. Kenny McMahon, number 3, the young player for North Harford who kicked the ball in just a moment ago.
And so last night, this game, I had a ball runner on my side of the field for the first half, and he disappeared in the second half.
He said, I've had enough.
Yeah, and then usually they recruit somebody from the JV game, or some of the youth in the go to the school are willing to pick up that job to do. And so the ball went way out of bounds. I didn't have a ball runner. And of course, the team that was ahead, they were taking their good old time walking to get the ball, and so I stopped the clock.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, I said, no, we're not going to time waste here. Okay, we're going to give everybody their fair chance to play.
Speaking of fair chance, too, Bob, I'm going to take a chance. I think Ian Lewis, pardon me, number 9, who is normally the goalie for North Harford, is playing now a position. Wearing the number 9. We were told that he might at some point during the game play a position. So I'm going to assume that he is out of the goal. I don't know if again, I don't have a number on the young man playing in the goal for North Harford now. Sun just about disappeared here on the late afternoon.
Well, that's a goalkeeper's dream, to be able to get out on the field and kick the ball and maybe even try to score.
Inside the halfway point of the second half. It's been all North Harford. They led 3-1, 3-0 actually, and then 3-1 and 5-1 at the half. Led 6-1 early in this second half, but Aberdeen has come back with 2 straight goals by Toby Dussault, the sophomore, number 14, for Aberdeen, and has narrowed the score now to 6-3.
Oh, there's your goalie, number 9. Here he is. It's his big chance. Oh,
He got a shot on goal.
Yeah, he did.
We will assume that number 9, we're told that he would wear the field number 9. A midfielder and a goalkeeper by trade. Oh, nice sideways kick. That was Diley, number 19, who made that sort of backhanded right-footed kick, showing off those soccer skills. Here come the Hawks. Good defense by Aberdeen. Ball out of play. Clock winding down as you see close to the 17-minute mark left in the game. A very competitive game. Both teams have had brilliant moments. Looked like the North Harford Hawks were going to just run away and hide in this game and maybe invoke that mercy rule that Bob had talked about, but Aberdeen said, we'll have none of that. It went from 6-1, now it's 6-3. Well, if you're Aberdeen, Bob, one more goal and then North Harford is going to have to worry a bit.
Well, if that were to happen, I believe that North Harford would go back to putting in their starting lineup.
Over the net. Clock continues to run here at Aberdeen. I thank Tim Lindekamp, the athletic director here at Aberdeen. As always, Tim has been very gracious and helped us set up for the game. Bob, Tim played baseball for me way back in the 1970s here at Aberdeen. And he's only 35 years old. I think his math skills may be a little lacking.
Some people just never age.
They never age,
It's like I just went to my 50th high school reunion, and some, oh yeah, you look exactly the same. And some you would say, who are you?
Yeah. Yeah, the weird thing about that is that everybody looks so old, and you know they're looking at you and saying, "Ooh, he looks old." Yeah, they're never fun, that 50th high school reunion. Although, I will say, people just celebrate that we've been living this long and still able to take nourishment and walk on our own accord. 50 years, huh?
50.
Yeah, you're just like a young guy. We did our 60th not too long ago.
Nice ball.
Yeah, Aberdeen with a chance. Oh, nice job by Diley. Again, that young man we talked about who was the striker in the first half and now playing sweeper. Do they still call it a sweeper, that defensive position, the last man back?
It's a terminology that sort of disappeared over time.
I remember that back from the day. Sweepers were usually big and mean, and you didn't want to challenge them. They were the ones who would kick the ball but sort of miss it and kick you in the shins. Oh, sorry.
You can't be like that on the field anymore. Everybody in any position needs to have decent foot skills and
boy, nice bang, just a bit high.
And be able to run fast.
Yeah.
The game has evolved.
You're absolutely right. In the old days, the fullbacks were, big and bulky, maybe wannabe football players who, came out and just sort of intimidated the opposition. And now you're right. They're like catchers have become in the major leagues, very mobile. The game has evolved, and Bob and I think in a very positive way.
Yeah, I think you're seeing much better skills. The teams I played on couldn't compete against these teams today.
Yep.
We just simply would not be in the same league with them.
Yeah, but you're like 70 years old. What do you expect? Oh, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, I
way
see
back.
what you're saying. Okay, sorry. Inside 14 minutes left in this contest. 6-3. Comes to North Harford looking to try to get another goal.
Wow, that was a good save. The ball was going out of bounds. Instead of letting it roll out for the corner kick, the defender was able to kick it to the side. So it's less of a threat with a throw-in.
Yep.
That's smart ball. Number 2 back in the game.
Yeah, back in the game. It's Jamal Holmes, the number 2 that Bob is speaking about. Oh, nice defensive play. It's like giving up your body. Ball's there, and a goal.
Number 22.
Is it 22? So that's Ryder Taylor, number 22, with the goal for North Harford, and that will make it 7-3. That goal coming at 12:48.
Ball bouncing around right in front of the goal. Didn't get a good clear, so you leave the ball on the table there for an opportunity.
You'll see exactly what Bob was talking about, how that ball is sort of sitting there saying, somebody hit me. And there's the attempted clear. And now there it is. Nice settle, nice kick right by the goalie on the left side.
Yeah, placed the ball just right. That's something else you see a lot of times. It used to be you just try to hit the ball as hard as you can and hope it goes by the keeper. But you know, it's so much more about not hitting it hard, but placing it.
And we were talking about that 6-3, and Aberdeen had a couple of chances to make it 6-4, but now with that 7th goal, up by 4 goals, if you're North Harford, you can relax just a little bit. Stranger things have happened, but with a 4-goal lead and a little over 12 minutes left in the game. Hawks looking to win their 4th game in the league, their 6th game overall. Good takeaway by Aberdeen.
Offside, just barely.
You can see the field lights have not yet taken effect. The sun has gone down. We're in that twilight zone. Not on the TV, mind you, but in the twilight of the evening. Be the kind of time when you were playing baseball, Bob, when you didn't want to have a fastball pitcher throwing the ball. Just before the lights take effect and the sun is no longer out. And they like to throw the fastball right up and in, and you can say to the umpire, that sounded a little high. Great footwork by Holmes, Jamal Holmes, number 2. Well, we don't do this. We don't choose a most valuable player, but if we did, I'm voting for Jamal Holmes, number 2 for North Harford. Only he scored 2 goals and assisted, I think, once, maybe twice. He's just dominated that midfield.
I think it's a tie.
Really, you think Matthew Diley, who played both striker and sweeper. Here's Diley again. Diley says, okay,
And there's
take
his hat
that
trick.
back.
There's his hat trick.
Okay, I changed my mind. Matthew Diley now is my co-MVP. What a shot.
Yeah, that was a really good strike. Low, away from the keeper, the hardest shot to stop. And I believe that was a play shot. that wasn't just a kick and see if I get lucky.
Yeah.
That was
Well struck. Diley, who had the first 2 goals of the game and now has this last goal so far, making it 8-3. And Bob, as you said, hat trick. Do they have hat tricks in soccer? It's normally a hockey term, huh?
They call it a hat trick.
Okay. Do they throw hats on the field like they do in hockey?
Well, I don't know. They throw rats on the field. I know. And I think what team is that? They do that hockey team. If it's a hat trick, they throw those plastic rubber rats.
Rats on the field?
Rats on the ice.
What in the world? But they are rubber
Yeah.
rubber mice, not real mice. Yeah. Yeah, that's bad. Takes me back to the day, Bob, back when North Harford and Bel Air were there were only 5 schools in the county back in the 50s and 60s and into the 70s, and they called the Bel Air players pea pickers. North Harford did, and Bel Air called the North Harford players duck farmers.
I remember duck farmers.
Yeah. So at every basketball game, at some point at Bel Air, there would be a duck that had been smuggled into the gym, and a duck would come waddling across the field, the court. And of course, at the North Harford fans would smuggle in peas, and they would just unleash a bushel of peas onto the floor, and they would sort of, that was back in the day when kids had little games they played that were, fun.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't be appreciated.
No, it would not. We're not suggesting that you bring a duck to a game and turn him loose on the field, not at all. North Harford, you may know if here comes Aberdeen with the ball.
Got numbers.
That's a nice job by North Harford's number 20. Let me get you that number if I can. Yeah, that's Nicholas Anderson, who was able to fend him off. Back in the day, North Harford, who did not have a football team, their principal at the time, Mr. Pyle, didn't appreciate football, and so they had only soccer. You go back, Bob, into the 50s and 60s, and maybe even into
into the 70s,
into the early 70s,
because North Harford had won the county championship every year before we beat them.
Yeah.
And 72 was the only year that. And of course, then it was a little bit different. You only had one team from each county that went on to the states.
Yep.
They didn't break it down by class anymore.
So Edgewood, here comes Aberdeen. Let's see if they can get their goal.
Nice shot.
A little bit wide. So you're saying Edgewood broke the 8-year winning streak of North Harford in boys soccer?
Yeah, and we actually had to do it in a playoff game.
Huh?
Because we had tied during the regular season. So we actually went to a neutral site in Havre de Grace. We played on their field, and we managed to win that game 2-0. So we had split the regular season. Each of us had won the game.
Not that you remember it at all.
No, not much.
Just like it was yesterday. 1972.
Yes.
And then North Harford, of course, instituted the football program back in the mid-70s and became a football powerhouse.
Yes.
Randy McMillan, you may remember, the Baltimore Colt running back. And a goal, another goal.
And the goalie scores.
The goalie scores. If that number 9.
Yes, it was.
If it's correct that he is wearing number 9, he being Ian Lewis, the former goalie, now playing in the midfield, and Lewis gets the goal. Wow.
Being given a lot of love by his teammates there.
That goal coming at 6:27 to make the score now 9-3.
It was a nice strike. Had a lot of power behind it.
Here you'll see the replay.
Number 7 with the set.
Very nice.
Just passed it right back to him, set him up perfectly.
Cale Sims, number 7, with that setup. And again, we're hoping that our roster is correct, that goalie Lewis now is playing in the midfield and wearing number 9.
Be a red letter day on his calendar.
Yeah, I don't see another 9 on the roster, so I'm assuming that is correct, that Ian Lewis, the senior midfielder goalkeeper, has maybe, 10 saves perhaps, and 1 goal. How many times do you see that stat line that you have 10 saves and 1 goal? Not because you kicked it the length of the field. Battling for the ball, Jamal Holmes. My co-MVP. Oh, hard to pick against a guy with a hat trick, huh?
Yeah. Really, both of them have really made a difference in the game.
They really have. They've been, just the people that have stood out on the field. There he is again.
Yeah, and now they've moved him around. He started out on the left side, now he's
his
on
speed.
the right.
Look at his speed coming around. Oh, nice center, nobody there. He being Jamal Holmes, number 2.
Wow.
What a shot.
Nice shot by 22, just over the top.
That's Ryder Taylor, number 22.
A lot of power behind that ball.
Inside 5 minutes now left in the contest. Hope you've enjoyed it. Bobby, can't tell you how much I appreciate you being with me here tonight. I know you've got some issues with your home in Florida, and I pray that the Hurricane Milton spares a little bit.
Yeah, all you can do is wait at this point. Nothing you can do.
A tough situation. The Helene just 2 weeks ago, and now Milton right on its tail. You mentioned Paul Metzger, your former coach, and our great friend who also has a home in that area. We pray for all those people that are in the path of Milton. Good defensive job.
Yeah, good shielding.
Yeah, North Harford's number 3. That's Kenny McMahon. Kenny has 2 assists on the year. Played a good field game here tonight. No foul.
No foul. Got the ball.
Official, you noticed with his hands out saying, no blood, no foul. Is that part of the deal, Bob? Is it official? You don't see blood, you don't call?
I've officiated a few games where that was pretty much the rule. Men's leagues now.
Now, the ball
kids.
that time was on the line, Bob. In soccer, in baseball, it's a fair ball if it hits the line. In football, you're out of bounds if you hit the line. In soccer, if the ball is on the line,
it has to be completely over the ball. So you could actually have a situation where the bottom of the ball is touching the ground outside of the ball, but because it has a circumference, the edge of the ball is still over the outside edge of the line, and it's still in play.
Still in play.
And we frequently see this, and so as an official, I try to make everybody understand the ball is still, and I yell that, ball's still in, or live ball.
Yeah.
And so the players know to keep playing instead of stopping because they think it went out.
Shot by French. Stopped by the goalie. And it brings up the point about baseball where you have the foul line and the foul pole, which actually, if it hits the line, the foul line, or the foul pole, it's a fair ball. What are they doing, Bob? They're trying to confuse me? It hit the foul pole, therefore it's fair. Yeah, Tim tells me, here's another one. You drive on a parkway, you park on a driveway. Come on. They're messing with our minds, and in my case, that's a difficult thing to find to do. Clock winding down on the 1 minute mark.
Another corner kick.
Bit far. inside a minute left in the game. A chance, and the ball just goes off the side of his foot.
A little excited there.
Yeah. Well, you see that open net and you say, man, my chance to score a goal with 20 seconds left in the game. And
I think he took his eye off the ball there before he tried to strike it.
9-3 are scored. Looks like that might be the final score of the game. 5-1 the score at the halftime. North Harford, saw Aberdeen score 2 goals to make it 6-3 at one point, and we were beginning to think, it may be time to put the players back in their regular position. But North Harford scores the last 3 goals of the game. They win it by 9-3. They go now to 6-8 on the year, 4-6 in the league. Aberdeen drops to 0-9. Bob Diley, our young man at the center, Matthew Diley, the junior striker, with 3 goals, the hat trick. His pal Jamal Holmes with 2 goals and 2 assists. They had 5 of the 9 goals. For Aberdeen, it was 2 goals by Toby Brousseau, and Aberdeen ends up scoring a total of 3 goals. They matched their season total, and now they have 6 goals on the year. Victory for North Harford. Aberdeen played a good game, Bob. I thought they acquitted themselves well.
Yeah, I think both teams got what they wanted out of this. Clearly, North Harford is a better team at this point in the season. They showed their dominance. Their 2 main players demonstrated that they can score. They had a solid defense. But we saw Aberdeen show a lot of resolve. Didn't give up on the ball. They certainly took very many positives, even though they lost. A lot of positives from this game.
Matthew Diley again just back from that concussion. Congratulations to him, to the great game that he played, also to Jamal Holmes. And for Aberdeen, remember their JV team, 1 loss on the year. They won again here tonight. So if you're an Aberdeen fan, there's a lot to look forward to. It's going to be good times ahead for the Aberdeen Eagles. Bob, speaking of good times, it's been a great time being with you. Bob Frisch, you have been an expert keeping me straight on this game. We've enjoyed it. Hope the fans have as well.
Well, I always enjoy the opportunity to work with you, Don. You're the consummate professional. You've been doing this for so long, and I know people truly understand and appreciate how much time and effort you put in.
Well, you wrote that just the way, you read it just the way I wrote it. It was very good of you. So thanks for tuning in. Don Morrison, my pal Bob Frisch. Our final score here from Aberdeen, it is the North Harford Hawks winning by a final score of 9-3. Good night, everyone.